Hey, Mr. Beck here. We're going to do some new things today in SketchUp, but before we go there, I want to talk a little bit about some measurements and some markings that go with measurements. We've got two things here. Both have a number 1. This one has a single apostrophe following it, and this one has a quotation mark following it. If you know a little bit about measurements, you might know that this top one, the one with the apostrophe, is the same thing as saying 1 foot, okay? So that single apostrophe, that's 1 foot. A quotation mark would indicate that it's 1 inch. Okay, so quotation marks, that would be inches. Now this, which a 1 and then an apostrophe and another apostrophe, that is nothing. Okay, so you don't want to use 2 apostrophes. It's either 1 apostrophe or 1 quotation mark. Okay, keep that in mind for a little bit later on. All right, let's go and jump into our SketchUp environment. So it's edu, and that might be enough, but it's edu.sketchup.com, where you'll find the link on Canvas. And it may take a minute to get there, like mine is, but that's okay. And once we get in, we want to begin a new file. So on my screen, it's right here. It says Create New. And remember, when we do this, it wants to know right away how to title it and where to save it. So let's do that right off the bat. We'll click Untitled, and we're going to save this into our drive. And depending on what team you are, right, Wildcat or Gator, you're going to pick your folder. We'll do Wildcat today. And I've got previous things from our first day or two of work, but this one we're going to call Letters, Letters, letters. And our goal today is to create a bunch of blocks, much like you did when you were a younger boy or girl and you stacked blocks, right? So we're going to do the same kind of thing, and they're going to be small blocks. They're going to be blocks that are 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch. So because they're going to be small, we're going to go ahead right off the bat and zoom in, and we're going to kind of aim for her feet. We'll kind of get down close to that area to start with, okay? Now, a block is a square, which is, a rectangle is an example of a square, if you think about that in terms of geometry. So you can go over here to the rectangle tool if you want to, click once and click rectangle. Or if you remember our shortcuts, you can just type the letter R. Either way will get you there. And again, it's a click and release program. And we're going to click and release and start dragging. Now what we're aiming for is 1 inch by 1 inch. While I'm doing this, I want to keep an eye on this part of the screen down here in the bottom right where it says measurements. Okay, so again, I'm going to click my rectangle tool. Now check out that bottom right hand corner. As I'm moving this around, those numbers are changing. There it's like 8 inches and then comma 1 foot 7 5/16 inches. The comma is the separator between length and width. Okay. If I keep moving it, we can see those numbers change. Now I'm at 6 1/4 inches, comma 6 13/16 inches. We want 1 inch by 1 inch. And we could try to get to exactly 1 inch by 1 inch, but that's no fun and it takes way too long. Instead, all I have to do is stop moving it and just type a 1. Just type a 1. And you can see in the dimension box, the number 1 showed up. Now remember from our Word document a little bit ago, inches are quotation marks. So I'm going to hold my Shift key down and press that key right next to the Enter key and get the 1 inch mark. So now I've got 1 inch, that's length. A comma is now typed, and then do another 1 inch. And then we're going to hit the Enter key. Just type Enter on your keyboard. And that locks in a really small square that is 1 inch by 1 inch. Let's do that again, just for practice. So again, we click one time and begin sliding. I'm not going to click again. I don't want this rectangle to turn gray and be done. Not yet, anyway. So I'm going to type a 1 and hold my Shift key down and type that quotation mark. Do a comma, type another 1, and do another Shift quotation, and hit Enter. So now I've got 1 inch by 1 inch. Okay, perfect. Let's zoom in a little closer on one of those. We don't need them both, so I'll go ahead and I'll leave it there for a second. That's fine. We can keep practicing. Now I want to raise this, right? So that's our push-pull tool. So again, we type the letter P, changes it to push and pull. And keep an eye on this distance. Now it's called distance. Same idea though. As we lift that up, that number's changing. And if we go down, it still changes, right? Either way. We want to do a perfect cube. So we want another 1 inch. Now this might be a little bit easier to get 1 inch. In fact, right there it is, right? I can do that. Or I could type 1 quotation mark and hit enter. Okay, so again, it looks like this. Click, start lifting it. Don't click again, right? Don't try to stop the click. Just let it be in motion. Take your hand off the mouse and type 1 inch, and then hit enter to finish it. Okay, so now I have 2 cubes that are 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch. All right, perfect. Now, what we want to do next is begin stacking those. We want to kind of move them. Move is the M tool. We talked about that last time we were together. So I'm going to use my space bar to get my selection tool. I'm going to triple click on this shape. That gets the whole thing selected. Remember, I could also just drag a box around it. That would work also to get the whole thing selected. M is move. That gives me this. And I can grab this and start moving it around. Now my goal is to stack these. This is where it can get a little, I'll be honest, a little frustrating to get these to stack because they seem to want to move in front and behind, and they don't really want to stack. And the reason that happened is because I didn't really grab it in the right place. I grabbed it right in the middle of this face, and that's not the best choice. The best choice is to grab a corner. Okay? Remember in SketchUp, when you hover over things, it likes to give you some help. Midpoint, end point, midpoint, end point. Okay? My idea here is that this block will sit on top of this block. And I want to kind of line the midpoints up. So I'll bet if I grab the midpoint here, I can go to the midpoint over here, right there, and now they're lined up. Okay, let me do that again. Control Z for undo. If I grab the midpoint here and head for that midpoint, they can line up. All right, perfect. Look at that. That's great. Okay, so now let's say I wanted to instead move this one over. I want to get that block selected again. And if I wanted to move this over, ooh, look at that. We have problems. It's kind of fun, but we have problems. And I did this on purpose because I wanted to show you what can happen if we skip a step. And I on purpose skipped a step. Let me undo and get back to 2 separate blocks. Before we do that stacking, we want to change this block. Okay, so I'm going to use my selection tool again to select it. And I'm going to right click on the block. And I want to choose make group. Make group. So I'm going to do that for that block. And I'm going to go ahead and do it for this block also. Right click, make group. Okay. And now if I select this block, notice it only takes 1 click for it all to turn blue. That's nice. Grab my M tool again for move. Grab that midpoint. Now it says midpoint in group. Head for this one. Midpoint in group. Perfect. And if I ever decide to move it a little bit, I can come back later and click on it, grab my move tool, and look at that. It will leave. That's nice. It'll leave the other one just right where it is. Okay? Perfect. Beautiful. Oops. Right there. So I could have you make lots and lots and lots of blocks, right, to begin stacking. I need to make a J for Jeff. And I'm probably going to need a stack of about 5 or 6 high and a couple this way, maybe 1 up here. So maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 9 blocks. Okay, I could do that all one at a time. Or I can use the move tool with another trick. Let me back up again. I've got this group. I can type M for move. But I'm now going to press the control key. Notice that little bitty plus sign that showed up by my move tool. I'm not holding the control key down. I just pressed it 1 time. But if I now drag that block over, it left the original one in place. And it made a copy. So again, I've got my move tool selected. I press Control. I get that plus sign, and I drag. I have another one. Control, move, drag. Control, move, drag. Control, move, drag. Control, move, drag. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I might need one more. Control, move, drag. Okay? And now I can practice my stacking. Okay? So now I want to do my moves. I'll begin by making my stack. So I'm going to grab the midpoint here. Oops, I grabbed, look at that. That was selected in blue. And even though I hovered over this one, it moved that one. That's a really good reminder, right? So the one that's selected is the one that'll move. So I'm going to go over here and put that right there. And now I'll select this one. So I use my space bar, right, to go to my selection tool. M for move. Grab that midpoint. Put it right on there. Space bar. Select. M, move. Grab that. Stack it up there. Space bar, move. I'm going to go ahead and put this one over here. Okay, so for this one, that bottom midpoint might not be very helpful. The side midpoint would be more helpful, or I could do corners. Let's try corners this time. So I grab the corner of group, and I aim for that corner of group, right? So you can do corners or midpoints. Just don't grab the middle of the face, right? So space bar, M for move. We'll grab a corner again and aim for that one. Now I could stop right there. That's a J. I think I'm going to go ahead and make it move up a little bit though. So let's go ahead and I'll do a corner again. Grab that one and aim for that corner right there. H for hand gives me a little more space there. Space bar for select. M for move. I'll grab midpoint again this time. Bring it up here. Stack it there. And you know what? I kind of like that height. I think I'm going to call that one done. Okay. Now, for you to show me that yours is actually 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch, we're going to add some dimensions to this. Okay. And we've got over here our tape measure tool. And the tape measure tool, when you click it, gives you, looks like 7 other tools. We want this one right here. This one is dimensioning. So if we click on that, now we can click a corner and slide out, and it shows that it's 1 inch. So I'm going to do that again. I click a corner, I click another corner, I move my mouse up and click, and that drops that into place. So I've got 2 dimensions. I've got height, I've got depth, I still need width. So I'll do that one back here. Click, click, slide up, and you can see if we zoom in, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch. You'll need to do that for at least one of your letters. Okay, almost done with my video. Let me do one more thing here real quick. And if we move this one, we'll kind of get it over into the backslash space. Another way to move these would be, with that control key, is just slide it straight up. Look at that. Look at that. So control move straight up. That might save you some stacking time as you keep going. Okay. Now I need an A, which means my middle name is Alan. So my next move, I think I'm going to go ahead and begin kind of moving it up. And then I'm going to move this one over. I want it to be like that. Next, I need to do a little stack thing here, right? So M for move. We'll move this one up and over. So you can see you can begin to do some letters that don't just run vertical and horizontal. 3 initials, please. When you get done, check out the directions, but you're basically taking a snip to turn it in. Thank you.